If 1,000 miles of overlanding in remote areas sounds like your idea of fun, this series, whether you're loving adventure, the great outdoors, or want to learn the details of how to plan an amazing trip of a lifetime like this for yourself, hit the subscribe button so you won't miss out on any of the fun. Arizona Peace Trail has been a dream trip of mine, and I'm lucky enough to have amazing friends to pull it off. Come on for a ride with us. Is it even an adventure if something doesn't go wrong and something else works out perfectly? This day definitely had both of those covered. Due to a very rare high river flooding, think decades rare, we had a very lengthy detour around the river via the road, which you shouldn't have to do, fortunately. Along with other problems, I'm calling this the long day. Enjoy. Some trail systems like the Hatfield-McCoy trail system are very well marked. Even before my off-roading GPS days, I could take a paper map there and navigate anywhere I needed to go. Come up to an intersection, there is signs with numbers, pretty easy to figure out, at least for me, which to be fair, I can navigate off a topographic map with a compass on foot. There is signage along the way to help navigate. One is the Arizona Peace Trail logo. Now over the years, the logo has changed and evolved. They keep adding new Arizona Peace Trail signs, but you may run across older versions. They are all correct in letting you know you're on the trail system. These are nice indicators, but they are spaced considerably out, and don't expect to see one at every turn or intersection. Vandals, winter maintenance, or even flash flood has the potential to damage or lose any of these signs that may be helpful. The atlas is helpful for navigation with maps and layouts. Trail signs can be helpful along with road signs. If you know you're on the trail, come up to an intersection with road sign, glances at the atlas, may be an easy right turn, and this will run you down to a gas station, etc. Atlas is a nice help for navigation, but I highly encourage you not to rely solely on the atlas or paper maps for navigation. Even if I made a detailed turn-by-turn video, it wouldn't be a reliable source of solo navigation. Weather like flash floods, wind and winter, snow and ice, or trail maintenance can really change what a section of trail looks like. A right-hand turn coming up a sand wash on a rutted hill with plenty of tracks might turn into a smooth section with no tracks, with the bank section washed out. In my opinion, good, reliable, offline GPS is a must for this trail, and I'm going to go over my preferred setup and some food for thought for what may be best for you. Coming up is Alamo Lake. You can see how high the water level is here. The rivers were impassable, and that's why we did that crazy long detour back up to Wickabee and then back down 93, which is rare to have to happen.
Don't get stuck a second time, Dezrik.
This is another group crossing the Bill Williams River, or Brown's Crossing, is typically the low-level, safer crossing. The one near the old stuck bus is a high water crossing. I'd suggest checking the USGS site. River bids are always subject to change, but as a general rule of thumb, anything over about 12.5 at the pole, which is below the dam, is getting close to possible maybe getting a butt wet on the average side-by-side. You can see the graph of the 23 April-May trips was impassable, which this level is rare. This group videos is after a day of rain and is higher than average. For reference, you can see the debris and how high it was at our time looking at the tree to the left. Up ahead is Maggie Wash. I highly recommend that you take advantage of riding through the Slot Canyon if you are small enough to squeeze through it. This is more of an ATV, UTV type trail. You'll notice a couple spots with us, so it gets a little tight. But if you're in some big four-door, extra wide vehicle, this is not one you need to be trying to go down. I've got maps for days, probably a little overboard if I'm being honest. If I go anywhere and some map or app is recommended there, I typically get it even if I have a couple other sources that should do just fine. This is just to play around with new maps and see if I'm missing anything and see which is my favorite for that area. An app I barely use may become my favorite when I hit a different trail systems, and others have limited to no good tracks. In fact, if anyone is watching is a millionaire or billionaire and wants to create a monetary challenge, you can blindfold me, drop me off in a machine, any trail in the United States with my electronics offline, and I'll figure out a way out or to get to a different point of interest.
Woo!
The devil you know is better than the one you do not. And my first suggestion is based off of that. Chances are, if you off-road a lot, you have some type of tracking app or GPS device you've used in the past and are familiar with. Hopefully you can record tracks of where you have been, familiar with the different sittings like orientation, how to navigate, put coordinates in for points of interest, etc. Most likely it will be able to work with one of the two most common files. GPX format, which is common for GPS systems, Garmin's, or apps like Backcountry Navigator, or KML format, which does great for Google Earth and GeoGPS. These will give you a GPS track for the latest trails, connectors, and some side trips. Go to arizonapeacetrail.org to download the most current format. These are free and wouldn't be a bad idea if each machine to have just in case someone misses a turn, if someone's GPS goes down, and allows other members to notice if the lead person isn't paying attention and starts getting off track. Now, if you don't have a preferred app or GPS unit, my personal recommendation for the money is Backcountry Navigator Pro for the Arizona Peace Trail. One, you can drop the GPX file in it to have as a track. Also, if you find you have time to explore, get Fun Tracks Arizona Guide. Many of the trails are close to sections of the Arizona Peace Trail. With Backcountry Navigator, you can buy these tracks listed in the Fun Tracks book easily and have them show up on mapping for fun options from mild to wild side trips. Backcountry, you can download different imagery overlays from satellite, topo, hybrid options that help give you a lay of the land and navigate. Depending on your level of understanding and mapping, you can also download map sections and overlays for use offline. An additional benefit and recommendation, it allows you to download Bob T's maps. For those who don't know, Bob T and some of his friends is off-roaders just like us that happens to be very smart with mapping, software, and editing overlays. He rides and map sections, or people will send him their trip data, and he makes awesome maps with them. Most famous for his West Virginia, Kentucky maps. He also has an Arizona Peace Trail map with points of interest that are easy to search. His and the GPX file was great throughout the trails and easy to use. I ran one on my tablet, another on my phone, and then a third recommendation on a different device. To get this maps, Google Bob T's Maps, download, and click the link on the GFS File Depot link. Some of his maps, he has a few different devices on how to run them. Backcountry Navigator has been my favorite. Oryx is second on my list. There is a few videos on downloads and setup information. If a lot of people are having trouble with those, let me know. I could do a video on how I like to set mine up, but don't want to flood a subject that if a lot of good information already exists. Bob T does this for free, and his maps are free to download. He rides too, so if you're ever out and about and meet him, buy him a beverage's choice just to say thanks. Also, if you are not tech savvy, some places sell tablets with stuff preloaded. In Bob T's instance, they can charge for the tablet and the install, but not the maps. If you decide to go this route, I recommend find someone local or willing to let you ship the device back to update maps occasionally as part of the sale or a small fee. Bob T updates his maps as he can. So first recommendation, the GPX file as the main navigation, and also Bob T maps to complement if that won't be too confusing. Those allow closer up details for navigation and making sure you're at the right split, etc. The second that I consider a must is Avenza Maps with Arizona Peace Trail. This is basically a PDF map that has all the Arizona Peace Trail, points of interest, towns, and you just show up as a bubble on the map. You can still record your tracks, but how you want to use these two are different. GPX track is for detail, Avenza is for the bigger picture and overall understanding. Arizona is a big state, and you as a dot is taking up a large amount of space in relation on Avenza. If you come up to a three-way split, you would have to go a decent distance to know if you picked the right option. With a good setup and GPX, you could zoom in within so many feet and know if you're still on the correct track. However, depending on the mapping system, overlay, zoom settings, etc., trying to figure out where you're at in relation to a town, stop, point of interest can be confusing. Trail splits and spots and looking close, it can be aggravating to figure out if this is a point of interest I wanted to see or not. Quickly going to the Avenza, you see the whole map, and you as a dot are in the right area. You need to turn right to go see the waterfall, for instance. A lot of Arizona Peace Trail, you have the option to stay on the main trail, do a bypass, or other sections that split off to a cool point of interest, then cut back in. Using Avenza to keep an easy reference is a great way to understand where you're at. See some waypoints, and in conjunction, use the proper section of the atlas if you have predetermined waypoints, or if you're making good time, it's easy to pick out another area to explore. The last thing you want to do is to get to the next town quicker than expected and then realize something that you really wanted to see is a ways back now. Just because of the detours, I really played with everything I had mapping wise, trying to figure out the best way around said detours. I'm going to mention a couple that made a difference for this trip. One is Onyx. It has a lot of trail options, and I feel like is a feasible option for an app for those doing the entire Peace Trail. I pay for an elite membership, $100 per year, which isn't going to be everyone's cup of tea. My favorite thing about it is the property boundaries, which easily let me figure out if I was on public, BLM, private land, etc. There are other apps that may be cheaper or free to know BLM land, for instance. Being I pay for the membership and everything was downloaded offline, it made figuring out tent camping a breeze. The last app that really came in clutch is Lifetime Trail Maps. I could easily have done the whole Arizona Peace Trail without this app in normal condition. The app is $260 with an additional option for premium mapping updates. Like a lot of apps, you can drop the GPX file in for tracking and navigation. You can also buy a preloaded tablet from them. The area that it came in clutch was for figuring out detours for the river crossings and the flooded sections near Yuma. With the level of details, I found detours that others didn't show and was able to make the detours as close back to the Arizona Peace Trail, so I didn't miss hardly nothing. One additional note on gate etiquette from the last video that a viewer noted is leave a gate as you found it unless there is a sign saying to leave it open or closed. I didn't run across this notice personally on the Arizona Peace Trail, but some sections ranchers will do this in case someone doesn't follow gate etiquette, and hopefully the next person catches the sign and either opens or closes the gate as it should be.
Watch out, baby.
Remember, all of these trails are two-way. Just like life, just because you're doing what you're supposed to doesn't mean other people are. Slow down and pay attention to blind corners. A flag that sticks up may not be a bad idea. Look for oncoming vehicles or trail dust off in the distance that may indicate other vehicles are on the way, and try to pick a straighter, wider section to pass if you can. Hand gestures are a great way to pass group information along. The driver holding a hand will let the opposite group know how many additional riders are to be expected behind you. Holding your hand with 5 fingers indicates there is 5 or more machines behind you. So if it's 10 machines, the lead person, first person, would hold 5 fingers all the way back to the 5th person holding 5 fingers. 5 or more. 6 would hold 4, 7th would hold 3, 8 would hold 2, the 9th person would hold 1, and the 10th person would hold a fist to indicate that they are the last person. This gives a heads up to expect other riders behind narrow section and tight corners. This can help everyone navigate safely and avoid head-on collisions and backing up in tight sections. If you meet someone on a hill section, the person going up the hill has the right-of-way. Now use common sense. For instance, if the uphill person is at an easy spot to get over and the downhill person would have a long backup, do the sensible thing. Lastly, if you run across someone that needs help, always stop and help. You never know when the shoe could be on the other foot, and that's just being a decent human being. Next spot we stop, I'll show you a couple quick pics. It is Trace Amigo Waterfall, which varies on how much recent rainfall has been had in this area. This is a cool little down and back spot in a sandy section. Here, RPM, speed, and maybe 4-wheel drive can be your friend depending on the rig. You ever tell yourself you'll pick up an item next trip, only go to the store multiple times and not get the item you needed? Yeah, that happens to me too. I ripped a boot on a ball joint months before this trip and replaced the ball joint with the new spare I had, and realized I didn't have a new one-time use nut. I put the old one on and told myself I'll get a new one next time I place an order. Multiple orders later, I forgot about it like a missing sock after laundry day. Just like the sock, you'll realize it at a bad time, like you're late for work and you only have one sock. In this case, it was a violent right-hand turn on the front passenger side wheel when the bolt let the upper A-arm drop. Couldn't find the nut. Luckily found the caps for the upper A-arm in the sand, but even luckier, I was traveling with Mr. Old Long Travel himself, Dezrik. Dezrik would send it and come down on stuff so hard with his old long travel setup, he would shear or break the upper A-arm bolt. He would keep a new spare, but his new Pioneer is an updated two-piece. Luckily, he threw it in his toolbox to give to me to have as a spare, and it was a quick trailside fix with the perfect part. A little later, had to adjust the shock up here, but smooth sailings again. Wiki up to Salome is either 94 or 108 miles, depending on the old Atlas or new Atlas. Our detour added a lot of extra miles. The new Atlas does fuel estimates, which I guess is a nice addition. I don't recommend using it. My dual sport may get 70 to 100 mpg depending on the terrain. A KRX with 35s with some weight somewhere in the teens. An old school Jeep with the big engine may be in the single digits. Each will vary wildly in how much gas is used. Know your average MPG and divide miles by MPG. Be on the lower side of your MPG estimates to ensure you have a good range. Don't forget side trips and missed turns use extra fuel. From Wiki up to Salome, there is a potential fuel stop at Wayside Oasis RV and Cafe. Potential is the key word. Certain days and parts of the season the cafe is open. This, along with another section, I recommended everyone in my group bring an extra gallon or preferably two. Recently, before our trip, someone reported they was able to get fuel at Wayside, so I was kind of hopeful on that. The Atlas has a number that you can call, along with one being posted at the place, and that's at the board of the cafe. I would think that number might could vary depending on who's on call, etc. And you call that number to get fuel if nobody's there at the cafe. It may be a good idea to call ahead if you are planning on using this as a must-have fuel stop to ensure someone will be there at the date you need and approximate time frame. I tried calling, textbook, Facebook messaging, and after about 30 to 45 minutes, decided to head on to Salome after no responses, and was glad I took the time to map out ahead potential miles and was relieved I told everybody to bring some extra fuel. As far as devices, whatever you have that is a solid standalone GPS offline unit with GPX or KML file capability should be a go-to since you already have it and are familiar with the device. If you don't, I do recommend a Samsung tablet or phone. They was one of the leaders as far as accurate standalone GPS, and Android has many awesome apps that are not available for Apple navigation-wise. Depending on everything you want, $200 to $400 can get you a unit that will do almost anything navigation-wise that you need it. On a dual sport or an ATV, I typically just take my phone or phones. In a side-by-side, I have plenty of room for a tablet. I ran 2 phones and 1 tablet this trip, different apps on each. I typically keep a Venza up on one and a GPX or Bob T's on the other. Again, broad picture and detailed at a track at a glance makes quick and easy navigation. Having a third device really let me play with the maps side by side. Even my Apple buddies that off-road enough typically get a Samsung just for the capability and price. Last thing I'd want is to break or have a $1,000 tablet get stolen. I also recommend a good case and a holder like a RAM mount where you or your passenger or both can easily view depending on who is doing the navigation. Knowing my group, I'm sure everybody brought some extra gas and is being super conservative with the fuel they currently have.
I could be incorrect, but it sounded like Jason when you guys said go get him.
Another thing I miss from the Pioneer is the efficiency of the dual clutch transmission. I'm doing everything I can to drive as efficiently as I can, from being super light with the throttle, using the manual mode and going up the gear sooner, and coasting wherever I can. To give fuel tank size specs, the KRX is 10.6 gallon while the Pioneers is 7.9. So with the 2.7 gallon advantage, which of the three side-by-sides do you think will go the furthest? I personally filled my Pioneer and the KRX to the brim at the last fuel stop. My Pioneer is the heaviest and the pack mule for this trip.
Out.
Yep. What? Right, well, I was trying to wave my hand and stuff. What? They just said,
Hey, bud. We're finally out of fuel.
Me and Dezrik are on stockish size tires. The KRX is on 35s for this trip. Alright, mine's fully charged. Was somebody run out of gas?
Yes,
They're out.
KRX.
Are y'all flashing yet?
Oh yeah, we've been flashing.
I was flashing way back there.
Don't tell me I'm the only one that brought gas, even though I suggest everybody bring a little bit of gas.
I will make him buy
I bought a gas can.
I got 10 gas cans at the house.
I want tape chip.
How far are we away?
About 16 miles. My rough guess.
Is yours flashing too?
Yeah. We're getting this odd equation of...
Yeah, we're in that odd equation of 144 miles.
I only brought two 1 gallon roto packs. I put one in the KRX. Looking at the mapping, the closer I get before running out, the more confident the extra gallon will get me to the gas stations. It's some altitude changes and technical sections coming up going over the mountain, so still a couple variables to contend with. The KRX as an example, 144 divided by 10.6 is 13.58 MPG. I would round down to 12 and say 120-ish is a conservative range unless in really tough terrain.
Hey Buck, I'm finally out of gas.
So with only 1 gallon remaining, I was worried if we split it up, everyone may end up walking versus someone driving back with gas. Me and the KRX made it over the technical session and a bit further before the KRX ran out of fuel yet again. I made it so many 100 yards past that before running out myself. I debated putting the extra gallon in the KRX to go to the gas station because it was the most capable machine, but was worried its poor MPG would come up short. I put the last gallon in the Pioneer, made it to the gas station, and filled the roto packs up and bought an extra gas can and tracked back for them. Just out of my curiosity to see if either of the other machines would have been able to make it the rest of the way if I gave them the last gallon, I put 1 gallon in both the KRX and the 6-seater Pioneer to see. The 6-seater Pioneer made it about a block before the gas station where he stopped and it ran out of fuel, and the KRX was sputtering pulling up to the pumps. So a missed turn or getting off track would have either walking, and the right call was made. With the extra gas can, we're good to go for the rest of the trip. If you are new to navigating or the device you are planning to use is new to you, play around with it. Some easy first steps can be your daily commute to work. Make sure you can locate yourself, record, save, and delete tracks. Also get familiar with the orientations and settings like zoom, brightness, and overlays. Make sure you can navigate completely offline. Turn the data off. There will be sections with 0 cell signals, just GPS. Also take it somewhere off-roading that has tracks. Make sure you are comfortable navigating, finding points of interest, coordinates, etc. If you are the main person navigating, this is a must in order for this to be a safe trip and enjoy being able to see the places you want to see. If one app is overwhelming or confusing, try another. At the end of the day, if you are not comfortable navigating, do not wing it. A lot of ATV parks, you're never that far away and could typically run into someone to ask for directions. Arizona Peace Trail, a wrong turn could put you in the middle of nowhere, out of fuel, with the potential to not see another machine for a long time. At the end of the day, if you're not comfortable navigating, which don't forget, practice does make perfect, try to find someone who is to join your group. See if you can find a group to tag along with. I've seen Facebook groups and forums, people looking for people to join. Also, some people offer guided services for sections. Some, for the right price, would probably do the full loop. Whatever you do, make sure one or more persons, preferably, is comfortable navigating. If you are good at navigating, I would highly advise you to do this trip with a group, not solo, for a variety of reasons. This section here is the more technical section that we rode of this day. I wish I could have got it during the day, but this video should give you an idea. Nothing too crazy. I enjoyed it enough to do it 3 times. Once you get up to the cattle guard, it's smoother terrain from there. After this long day, we skipped cooking and got some of the best frozen pizza at the bar that was still open and made it a little farther before settling in for the night. We didn't want to miss the terrain by riding it at night. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe for the next adventure.